Today I'm sharing with you a pattern that could be free, and I'm excited about this fabric. It's just everything. Look at this pink chiffon. Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing. I'm coming from outside, right under the mango tree. Look at these little baby mangoes. They're very green, but they will soon be eaten, and I'm very excited. Today I have a pattern to share with you from Fibre Mood. This is a pattern brand from the Netherlands. And if you go to their website, you can click on one of the corners if you want to see the web page in English. So that's good because I don't read Dutch, obviously. They have nice designs there, and every now and then they have a free pattern that you can download for like a sew-along type event that they do. So I did download the Norma Blouse a couple of months ago, maybe May or June. It was available for free. You have to create an account, of course, and then you can click and get it for free. Then it wasn't free anymore. £7.50, I think, is maybe like $9. But during the month of October, they have brought this blouse again, and they have a competition. It's a competition, Norma Hack. You use a hashtag, you upload your photo there on the website. You can also post it on Instagram. And it's those types of challenges that are judged. So there's a first prize, a second, a third prize, that sort of thing. I really never enter these challenges that are judged like that because it's so subjective and you can go all out. But then the judges are going to find that whatever you made is really ugly or whatever. So I'm just participating this time just because I like the base pattern and because I like to hack. My main goal was to create a simple hack with an amazing fabric and have a resulting garment that I'm going to wear over and over and over again because wearability is really important to me. Usually these hacking competition means extremes, like making a top into a maxi with 1,000 ruffles and that sort of thing. And that is not really the type of garment that I wear. So competition aside, I have nothing to prove. I know I can achieve a lot of things in sewing and I don't need a type of challenge to tell me that I'm not good enough because I know I am. But you can get the pattern for free, and you can get the pattern for free on the website if you type in the code #NormaHack, and then you can get it for free. After you purchase, if you click on the link of the actual pattern on the website, you'll see all these red letters there with file names. That's how you know you can access the pattern. So you can click there, download instructions in English, click on the A4 or letter, it will work for both. And that's how you access the pattern. I can't see the pattern in my account as such under orders. So a little unconventional, a bit harder to find the pattern, but you can download it like that and it does actually work for sure. That really nice pattern that could be a base for anything you want to do, and also the original design is super nice. So I'll put the line out here. It's got a deep V neckline that overlaps with a button down feature, and then you have the main thing that are these sleeves, very big sleeves that are gathered on the sleeve cap, and then those sleeves are gathered into a little cuff. It is sort of cropped. There are no darts anywhere. There's no shaping whatsoever. And the neckline is finished with facings in the front and the back. When I see a design like this, all I see is a blank slate and what other things I can do to it. Definitely want to keep those sleeves for sure, but there are things I can do that will change the appearance and that won't be that dramatic. I also want to add some shaping, of course. There are no bust darts here, and I do want to add some because for a style that has no shaping, my bust is going to fit in there. There is going to be enough ease, but there won't be any shaping, and I'm going to have those weird drag lines. I have a video where I added that to some refashioned clothing where I show exactly how to do that in detail. I'll put the thumbnail here so you can see how that looks. I've decided to go on that route with this same pattern as well and add some bust studs. Also, I want to change the neckline and have a few options there. I know the neckline looks super deep. From more pictures I've seen on Instagram from other people making it, it looks too deep for what I like to wear. That aside, I mentioned it was for woven fabrics, and in the pattern it actually says and recommends that you choose fabrics that have structure so that these sleeve details and gathers are going to pop and be super visible. So it says to use structured fabrics, and that goes against everything I stand for with these puffy things. When I see these big gathered designs, the only way I like them is with very lightweight flowing fabric. So my approach is the more soft look, rayon, crepe, silk, chiffon, those are the ones I would use 100%. I would never make this with a linen, a cotton, a shirting, a chambray. Just not my thing. But that's up to you. You might want these sleeves to puff out and look huge. I don't. I want them to just flow and drape. Norma Blouse is available from sizes 0 to 26 US, and in European size equivalent, that's size 32 to 58. So my size in the US size is 14 and European is 46. When you open the PDF pattern though, the numbers that you see there are the European sizes, and there's no chart, there's no equivalent chart there that says this is that, this is that. You just have to figure it out, start from the bottom and counting up. Also, I have to warn you, if you get this pattern, when you open the PDF file and you want to click on the layers to choose your size, you can click on the size that's just the plain number that I'm pointing with an arrow there, and that will just give you the dashed line, you know, that's the one according to your size. But up on the top it has the same size with an SA. That means that you have to click there to add the seam allowance. So seam allowance is optional. So basically I had to click on 46 and then up on the top click on 46 SA, and then I get the seam line and the seam allowance printed out, and then I can sew. If you don't want to see the seam line, you can just click on your size that says SA, and that means it's just got the seam allowance already there and you can't see the seam line. Atypical for PDF patterns, but I do like the option that you can choose whether you want the seam allowance or not. That is awesome. The upper measurements are 55-inch bust and hip, but consider that this is quite a short design, so at the hem it's not going to actually reach your full hip. It's going to be around the mid hip or the high hip area. There are 4.5 inches of positive ease around the bust, and the length is super cropped. It's about 22 inches. So knowing that from the get-go, I knew I needed to add at least 3 inches to the length, because I just cannot rock a crop style. It's just not my thing. I want them a little bit longer. I was not committed to a specific idea. Other than that, I wanted the front to be extended, not have that button thing there. So let's see the practical bits and I'll be back. This is the front pattern piece of the Norma Blouse, and it's quite boxy, quite unshaped as a style, and I want to add a bust dot. So I've gone and measured and put that dot there where my bust height is. Now if you look straight across over here, it's sort of on the armhole. This has a wider, bigger armhole because it has that gathered sleeve that goes in there. So it is the style like that. The sleeve is huge and it goes gathered into there as well. So I can't just draw a dart straight across, like a straight dart that starts there and then goes there to this height. So I've drawn one that starts lower but does point up to the bust height. So I've drawn my circle there. I like about 2 inches for my bust. I don't want my dart to be closer than that. A little below there where the sleeve is going to be, the dart starts, and this is the amount that's appropriate for my body, which is almost 1.5 inches. If I take the top leg of the dart and put a ruler, you can see that it's pointing to the right height there. It just finishes further away. And then I measured my distance and marked the bottom leg. Now this is a slanted dart, so it's going to give you some weird shape here, so you do need to true that. I've stuck some paper, and now you just close the dart. You can see that distortion there. I'm just going to even that out and cut it, and then there'll be a little shape there. You can see the red line where I evened that out. So I drew my line and then I just cut away the paper, and when you open this dart you can see the shape it takes. Now the same amount that I did for my dart here is going to shorten my side seam when I sew it, but I still need my side seam to have the original length. So that same width that I have there, I have added onto here. This is the original hem of the top. But when I close this, I still need to recover that length somewhere. So I've just added it to the bottom and just kept the same shape. I still usually need extra length for the bust anyway, to account for the volume that creates there, so that it's level at the front. So it's not a bad adjustment to do. Now if I made this blouse normally without any adjustment at all, no dart, nothing, I would probably have some drag lines like this. And I've shown that before, and maybe the top would look slightly shorter in the center front. And I really want to avoid that if I can, and this is such simple adjustment to make to a simple top like this to avoid that. So this is going to match my back piece, the side seam is going to be the same, and it'll be all good. Okay, here you are seeing another piece of paper that I could just fold down, and I can have options for two types of necklines. I've already raised my V neckline, so I have that there. And just when you're assembling this PDF, there's a joint area of pages here and it creates like a line. I just took that as a reference and put a paper, traced everything around here the same, the armhole, the shoulder, but then the neckline is different. So from that V, I raised it further up an inch. I have extended this line here. This is the overlap that you have from the other side when you have your button band. And from that line, I've extended it further an inch so that the neckline ends up being really round and not V. If I took the curve straight up to there, I'd still end up with a type of V neckline. And to be round, it does need to go flat across center for a little bit right there. Whatever I'm in the mood to do that is just stuck there with tape, I can just put this back and use that neckline, or fold this one back and use that neckline. Some basic steps done already. I stay stitched the neckline and also the armholes. Armholes are quite big, so that's been stabilized. I've done the shoulder seams. I have basted on my bias tape around the neckline so I can finish that before I tackle the sleeves. I have bust darts there that I've also added to the pattern. So originally this pattern has no darts. All this piece here is the armhole extended, and the sleeve that is all gathered in this area will be inserted flat. For a normal garment with a normal sleeve, I would never set sleeves in on the flat. Even for knit fabrics, I don't do that. I like setting them in. But for this, it's totally correct. When I sew bias tape around the neckline, I don't sew it first, then flip it to the other side and then top stitch. I just take my bias tape, wrap it around the raw edge and hand baste it down, because it will just be so much more accurate, and sewing pin free such delicate fabrics is always so much nicer. I sew only once. I top stitch right on the edge, just being careful to sew very straight. This is one of the armholes extended. There's the shoulder seam under there, and I have pinned the sleeve. So from there you'll find double notches, from the edge you'll find single notches, and you'll find another notch around there and there where you're supposed to gather between. So the gathering doesn't involve the whole thing, it's like from there to there. And I've just carefully pinned it, and I'll just carefully sew with the gathers on the top. I find that the area that needs to be gathered in this sleeve is not that large, and that's why I've just done a single row of stitches together. If it's a large area, I'll do it parallel, I'll do two, but if it's small, I'll just go ahead and do one and just sew very carefully, controlling the gathers with my fingers as I go. And I sew this area pretty slow. After cutting my blouse and even doing the main seams, I figured out I still had quite a nice piece left over and I wanted to use it all. So I made a last minute change. I tried on my blouse and I cut on the back. See, it's shorter here. This is at the height of my waist at the back, and left 3/8 seam allowance. So this is the front there in a single layer, and the short bit is the back. So I have cut a long strip and gathered it, and I'll be attaching this at the back. So I'll have a bit of gathers there, just at the back, not at the front, and I think it's gonna look cute. Once I sew it, it'll match on the side seams, and then I'll complete the side seams because I unstitched them partially so I could do this. To calculate the length of this little ruffle at the bottom, I didn't want to measure there and cut it double because I think that's just too much gathering. So I measured that across and multiplied by 1.5. That will just give me 50% extra, and that's what I have gathered there. And I think it's going to look nice but not excessively bulky. Now when I have a long thing that I want to gather, I actually do the parallel gathering stitches because it's easier. When I have a smaller section to gather, I just do it once. So I'm just going to sew that onto there, 3/8 seam allowance, serge it, then complete the side seams, and then I can go ahead and hem. Also, when I tried this on, I really like the look of the wide sleeve like that. So although I have cut out the cuffs, I'm really thinking about not using them and just hem this and just have it nice, be nice and wide. Here I'm sewing the ruffle on the back only, and the ruffles are on top. You can see the double row of gathering stitches, how they are very evenly spaced. I took my time to do that. And also here I'm sewing pretty slow. I'd rather just take my time so that these gathers look really nice. You saw that I grabbed my front pattern piece and drew my dart. I first marked my bust point on the pattern, drew a bust circle, and then just drew the dart a little below the arm side where I had space, and then slanted the dart up slightly so that I could have a dart. That dart that I drew, of course, you know, when I sew it, is going to distort the side seam length, and I still need it to match the back. So I needed to add the length there on the side seam, you know, all the way across the front. Look, this is not a full bust adjustment. I'm not adding width to this pattern. I'm not doing that. I'm just adding a dart that's appropriate for my bust cup size, which is a little less than 1.5 inches. And I'm adding length. I'm not adding width. So when you do a full bust adjustment, you add width, you add length, you add a dart. It's a whole different process. I'm not doing that. And what I've done here is totally legit. You can do that. Don't think you can't. You can add a dart to anything that you want, and then just compensate for the length on the side seam. If you think you need a dart, it's because you have a bust volume that is going to affect the feet if you don't have the dart there. You are going to have these diagonal drag lines from the bust down to the hip, and you're also going to have pulling on the center front. Your top or dress is going to look shorter on the center front, and it's not a good look. You can tell that the volume here is, you know, taking up length, just going over your body. So why would I want to have that fit when I know a basic design without darts is going to give me that fit? Fix it. You can add darts, you can adjust the length. I encourage you to look at patterns in a way where you can see the potential, but also see what you can do to make them fit you better. If you have a smaller chest, then you probably won't need to do this. It will be fine. It won't pull at the center front, you know. C cup or above, you're going to have that shorter length on the center front that doesn't look very good. So I like doing things like this. I had to move because the sun was suddenly blinding me. This beautiful chiffon was sent to me by my friend Vivian from Stitches and Seams. She sent me a little care package last year, and included was this. She knew I was going to love it, and of course I did. It's like this blown up flower print, but huge. Like that would be the center of a flower there. It's just so beautiful, and it's got dark pink and pink tones and beige, and it's just gorgeous. Totally me. I think it goes with my coloring as well. So there you can see my round neckline. I didn't want the V. This round neckline is 3 inches higher than the original V, and the easiest way to finish this with chiffon is to add bias tape. So I got rid of all my facing pieces. I don't think I'll ever use them. Even if I do it a button down way in the future, I won't use those facings. So that is that. Super lovely. And there's supposed to be a little cuff here on the bottom of this 3/4 length sleeve. But when I was sewing and trying it on, I felt that no, I wanted it to flow. And look, it's just because of the fabric choice. I think it really looks nice when it's just free like this. And less is more, in my opinion. I think the gathering there was just going to be too much for this bold print. I try to look at things that way. At the back, I have a seam right at my waist height, and I've got ruffles there. Now, I've done similar things in the past where I've added little pleats at the back. This is something I like to do. It's just fun, and the fabric is so beautiful. I had a piece there that was large enough to be able to do that, and I wanted to use every single piece. It's such a beautiful fabric, and I love this. A hack that is so easy to do, you know? It's just 50% longer here to be gathered in, and I think that is enough. Plenty enough to look nice. I have some bust darts there that you can't see, but they make a huge difference in the fit, and I'm so glad because my hem looks really level now. There's nothing pulling up in the center. Everything fits around the side super smoothly, and yeah, that's what I can show you, but it'll be best seen on where I can chat to you more about it. So let's see. Here's my hacked chiffon Norma blouse, and I absolutely love it. This length here is with the 3 extra inches that I added on. If I hadn't have added that, it would be extremely cropped, and I'm very happy I measured well and I knew that it was short from the get-go. I definitely cannot use a cropped length. I just don't feel comfortable, and it just does not go with my style. This isn't long either, it's just right there where it should be, where I like it. So I'm glad I did that adjustment. The sleeves are 3/4 length. There should be a cuff there, but I left the cuff off and changed the neckline, added the seam at the back and have a little ruffle. I'm very happy with the changes I made, and I'll show you the details up close. For the hem, I just folded it up twice at 1/4 inch, hand basted that first and then sewed it down with the machine. I did the same for the sleeves. The sleeves were meant to be gathered into a cuff, and I think that's cute too. But while I was trying this on, I really like this and how flowy it was, and I think it's perfect for this type of fabric to just leave it like that, so I left it. And if I stand sideways, you can see how level the hem is from the back to the front. Consider that I added some length to account for the amount I took off here by drafting that dart. So it was a good move. Otherwise, I would have a top that looks like this. If I stand sideways, it will look shorter in the front because of my bust volume, and I'm glad I made those changes. Look how flowy this fabric is. The wind just picks it up and makes it fly. I love that. And the little ruffle was a last minute thing. It's right at my waist. Easy. I tried it on, marked where my waist was, drew a line straight across, cut it 3/8 of an inch lower, and then just added this little ruffle at the back. I wouldn't have wanted a ruffle all around. I think the smooth front looks nice and clean, and the detail can be at the back and look nice. Here you can see the fit of the shoulders. It's very good for the size I've chosen, right at the shoulders. And there's some gathering here from around the middle of the arm side to the back. But because of my fabric choice, it just flows and drapes, and it's not poofing out as it would if I'd done a stiffer fabric. So I'm happy with that. They're just very discreet gathers, and my neckline is round. It's what I wanted. It's on the fold. I don't have the overlap with the buttons and the V. Now the original V was very low. This is 3 inches higher than the original V. So imagine it coming down to there. And when I touch, I can feel my bra, so it would be lower than the top of my bra that's right there. That's not a good look. So I knew that it was very low. I'm glad I raised it, and I do have the pattern with the V. If I want to do the V on the fold as well, I could do that, or do the overlap. I can do whatever I want. You can see the bias tape looks really clean there on the neckline. It's always a very nice way to finish it. Takes up tiny amount of fabric to make that tiny piece of bias tape. These are 3/4 lengths. There would be a little cuff here and this gathered in, and I would do that with another fabric, but for this I just wanted it like this. It's just so beautiful. If I extend my arm and you see my arm through the fabric, you can see how low this armhole is drafted. Very low down there. So that's why my dart that I drafted had to be slanted from the bottom and then up. The dart is right there, so it's pointing at my bust height but starts down lower. I'm very happy with my hack. It's a discreet hack compared to others I've seen, but I'm very happy with it. Very wearable, and that's what matters. I enjoyed the process of making changes on the go. I knew the basic things were to have this extended on the fold and have a round neckline, but I did plan to do the original cuffs and just have the normal body, but things happened and I had a little piece of fabric there looking at me, and I thought that's not going to work for anything else other than if I just add a ruffle, and I did, and I'm so happy. Little detail at the back. Absolutely love this make, enjoyed it immensely, because this type of sewing that is really freestyle is the most fun for me, when I'm just going with it and just doing what I want and getting this. And I absolutely love this blouse. This fabric is everything. I absolutely love it, and I'm very happy. So I will be entering this into the challenge, into the competition, just to enter actually. But the main enjoyment for me was having the freedom to hack this, because I was supposed to. I was supposed to hack the Norma Blouse for this. and that is awesome. It's the most fun I've ever had in a long time, where I'm just doing whatever I want. And I encourage you to do that sometimes. It really sparks up your creativity. I think if you start doing this slowly, it'll slowly build up your confidence, where you can see an item that you like in the street and you can think, I can do that with a pattern I have, and that is just the most freeing thing you can ever do for yourself. Also, adding dots and doing little things to make the fit better is also amazing when you start experimenting and you start seeing the results of how these garments fit on your body. Is also super encouraging. And you can see what I do now and say in the comments, oh, that's just too hard, I can't do it. You don't know unless you try, and that's why a lot of us have a large stash. I'm sure you have some fabrics there that are really not that nice or that you're sick of. You might as well use them to try and do these things for yourself, because once you get going, the sky is the limit with hacking, and this is so much fun. I have already cut out a version in a blue crepe, navy blue, that I'll be doing a very simple version. I will be doing the gathered cuff, but I've cut a V neckline with that one on the fold. I'm going to do bias tape on the neckline with the V, and I hope to be able to film that. It's a bit of an advanced technique, but I want to have that footage there because a few of you have asked me how to do that. So I will eventually show that on the channel. I know whenever I show an advanced technique like that, absolutely no one watches that video, but I will still have it there for the few that really want to know how to do that. Today I'm wearing my Breckenridge Henley top that I've shown in the previous video. Lovely, it's still on sale, and if you haven't seen the video, go ahead and watch, because there I show you how to sew this beautiful placket. Super easy. You can do it too, and have a really easy neat top to sew that has a very beautiful neckline. So have a look at that one if you still haven't. In the next few days, a really cool collaboration with one of my friends, another YouTuber, so keep your eyes open for that. I will see you again very soon with more sewing. Bye.